that it can be ordered, typically we order anywhere from 500 to 1,000 tons at a time.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Chair.
Any other remarks? With that, I'll make a motion to call out and place on the consent agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We have no pending legislation. Is there any miscellaneous discussion? From the gallery? All right, with that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
A second?
I'll second.
And we are adjourned at 6:06. With that, I pass.
Thank you, Mrs. Hager. Environmental Health and Social Services, Mrs. Miller.
Mrs. Miller is here, as well as Brian Foreman, and we have an open seat. And others as listed on the sheets. Tonight, we have no business at this time. I make a motion to adjourn,
I'll second.
and I'll third it. Okay. No further business.
Thank you, Mrs. Miller. They're planning annexation and codes, Mrs. Beck.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, I'd like to call the Planning, Annexation, and Codes meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, January 20th, 2026. It is 6:07 p.m. Myself and the rest of the committee is present. Julie Miller, Chris Stoll. All other members of council are present, with the exception of Ward 3, that's an open seat, and other guests noted on my sheet. This evening we have a couple of different things to talk about, but first we have some guests here. Melanie Blackamato from Main Street and a very familiar beloved face, Mr. Bebe Heidick, are here to talk to you about possibly extending the boundaries of DORA.
Great. Thank you, Council, for hearing me today. So what I would like to discuss is the reconsideration of the DORA boundaries in our downtown. Before I get there, though, I do want to just share some of the impact that Main Street Barberton is having in the downtown area. This past year, 2025, we saw more than 174,000 visitors to our downtown. Our festivals and events brought in more than 7,000 people, which is a testament to the growing appeal of downtown Barberton as a destination. The return on investment is more than $140,000 based on the average $20 per person who attended our events. 10 downtown buildings were sold this past year and 7 the previous year. Overall, there's been 21 buildings sold just on West Tusk and 2nd Street since Main Street inception. We have 8 new businesses that opened up this last year, with a total of 13 since Main Street started. And again, that's strictly just 2nd Street and West Tusk boundaries. We also have a building under contract, Lake Anna Hall, as a elevated restaurant and also as entertainment on the first floor where the stage is. They do have a liquor license that is on its way to being approved. which would then also include them as a liquor establishment. However, the DORA boundaries do not go where their venue is. Lake Anna Hall is not currently in the DORA boundary. Magic City Art Music Festival, just to again mention to you what transpired there. The Magic City Art Music Festival ran along 2nd Street in West Tusk, outside in vacant lots and or in front of businesses. Last year we brought in more than 4,000 people throughout the day, walking up and down West Tusk and 2nd. Many businesses saw an increase of sales of more than 40% on average, and in what are moving forward in 2026, we plan to expand that boundary of the Lake Magic City Art Music Festival to go around the lake, because we want to include the residents that have houses there to be able to play music, have a band, a specific band at a specific time. So then the event is growing, so it's getting bigger, and we want to have it around the lake as well, and then also on West Tusk and 2nd Street. So what we're proposing is, unfortunately, we can't do a one-time DORA extension, so we're looking at potentially expanding DORA boundaries to include the outside of the streets surrounding the lake. So if you look to the left, that is the current DORA boundary. You see it does go along Lake Anna on 3rd Street right now currently, and so we're asking to continue that around to specifically show Westlake, 6th Street, and West Park as the boundaries, which would include Lake Anna Hall, which is gonna be where the new business is. But again, if we are unable to do this, this is gonna restrict us with regards to the DORA, use of DORA, and also people walking around the streets on that street to listen to the music and entertainment. That's a street view right now of 3rd Street, so I wanted to include that. And for anyone who may question how is DORA boundary identified now on the lake, so that signage right there does say that alcohol is not permitted beyond that point. So again, on 3rd Street where DORA is, those are the signs that run along 3rd Street at Lake Anna. And so those would just continue around the rest of the lake to make it very clear that Lake Anna is not allowed to have alcohol. It's not permitted at any time, and so those would be provided and input by the city to acknowledge that. So the purpose of this is to continue to keep the integrity of the lake as is with no alcohol.
Do you want me to start this one now?
I'm sorry?
Do you want me to start this one now?
Nope, that's it.
Okay,
That's all. Yep.
okay.
And baby, I know you had some things too, if you want to share, or do you want to just kind
If
of?
anybody had any questions of the mechanics or the legalities of it, that's where I can step in, because I know all the codes and everything that has to happen. As Melanie explained, she tells you the why, I can tell you the how and reasons for it. So if there's any questions, either of us can field them, depending on what the question is.
Do you want to give us a quick little synopsis of the work involved in making this a thing? You know, we could say yes or no, but if we say yes, you know, that afterwards, what happens here?
If council were to agree to do this expansion, it's not as simple as just voting, yes, we're gonna expand it. What has to happen is, because there's no such thing as a temporary expansion. It either is DORA or it is not DORA. What that would entail is essentially recreating the DORA from scratch. Now, the mayor has the original application from years ago, which would be used again, just added to with the addresses along West Park. A survey would have to be done again, because according to the ORC codes, you cannot go over 320 acres. If the survey came back that the streets and the addition of West Park to Tusk exceeded that, then we would have to look to trim elsewhere where the DORA was not being used, or kind of extra, that was originally made just for the map's sake. Once that's done, it would come to planning and rules. At that point, once legislation would be requested, and if the council's on board with this, I could get the paperwork to Councilors Beck and Gerhart respectively to get with the mayor for the survey and for everything. Once the legislation is requested, the clerk has to put a public notice for 2 straight weeks in publication because, again, we're recreating the DORA. It's as if it never existed. That's a little synopsis of it there.
Do you know how many acres it encompasses now?
Currently, I don't, and I apologize, Mayor, I meant to get to you today, and I know you don't have that memorized. I don't believe we hit the 320 threshold, but if this does, now this was drawn purposely with Westlake and Sixth to include the streets and not the residential addresses. Those are private property. You can have alcohol as it is on private property. The DORA would let you come off of that private property. By adding those addresses of those residents would really beef up the acreage and possibly throw the wrench into the whole thing.
Is Lake Anna Hall, that would really be the only liquor establishment in that whole addition?
Correct.
Why not do the survey prior to all this? And have a general idea of what we're looking at?
Well, let me ask you this. There's currently 7 of you that have a vote. If it was not going to be appeasing, then why would we pay for a survey? Why would we prepare paperwork? Why would we do any of that? What I'm looking at tonight, and I don't speak for Melanie when I say this, when I'm looking at the expansion, is basically a straw poll if the council has an appetite for this. Because if not, then I don't move forward preparing all this paperwork and getting it to Councilors Beck and Gerhardt. If there is interest in this, I have no problem putting this together within a week to get to the chairs respectively, to get with the mayor to get started on this as soon as possible.
I do have one thing. How about the residents around the lake? How is their feeling on this, their temperature on this? I think
So
you guys have-
currently, as I mentioned, there is DORA on 3rd Street,
Right.
which is all the residents on that street are being impacted currently.
Yeah.
I did check with Chief, and there are no current DORA violations and/or open containers that have been done this past year. They've only had one, and it was with an issue with Block 7 specifically on how they were distributing DORA. But there have been no specific cases of open container DORA outside of the boundaries.
I was just gonna ask that question. I was gonna ask if we have anybody else has heard any complaints about it?
No.
Because around the lake, I haven't heard any complaints from the residents on 3rd Street.
How did it end up going down 3rd?
I'm sorry?
How did it end up on 3rd with no bars on, like, that area?
That was years ago. Mary, do you recall why? I think it had to do with the alleys behind it, that we didn't want, I think there was something about the alleys that we didn't want affected in case businesses had open in the future, but it would cross over certain lines.
It
So,
may have also included the rezoning of the church at, is it Page and?
the old Faith Gym,
Yeah.
yeah, because that's commercial downtown now.
And at the time, the owners at the time were looking at putting in a restaurant in the hall.
Alcohol while you work out.
I know I'm new, but I really don't know what DORA is.
Sure.
Would you mind telling me
Sure.
that?
So DORA is the designated outdoor refreshment area. So
Okay.
it's seen in, I think, over 150 cities in Ohio. Basically, it allows individuals to leave the bar or restaurant with a glass of wine or whatever in a specified cup. So it has to be a very specific cup that they have to walk out with in order to have that. So it allows them, for example, at the Art and Music Festival, when we have bands playing all along the streets, they can walk to and actually see the bands, listen to the bands, and continue walking into the next venue.
Thank you.
I may have missed it. Did you see how many cups were sold last year?
No, and actually, I'm still putting that total together, but I can have it for you. I can send it to you.
Thank you.
I was gonna say, what was it, how long ago was it that you had brought it forward to us to take it to the lake? You know, we've kind of talked about this before, just gonna give you some background. we, as a council, didn't care for it at the park. So this is like maybe like a second attempt to exclude the park, so you're not gonna be able to go into the park, but you can walk around, on the other side of the lake and enjoy your beverage. So it didn't go through before because of the park, the honor roll and things like that, so.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, that was one of my big contentions, was the fact that we have the Veterans Honor Roll over there.
Right.
There's 3 veterans sitting here. That's not a place for alcoholic beverages, and that's one of the reasons why we disapproved it. We just, now, I have another question.
Go right ahead.
Have you talked to the residents of Westlake and Sixth Street? Like,
I have not talked to I've talked to one of them is on our, is actually on our board, and so she is fine with it. She's a resident on there, and she's totally, like, she's surprised we don't already have it.
one out of how many though?
I don't know, probably 50.
And Councilor Miller, to your point there with the previous one, I had suggested it while I was sitting on council, and my suggestion included the park. There was talk of excluding or carving out the veterans, the honor roll. Unfortunately, DORA doesn't work that way, and Lake Anna does have a physical address as one thing. So when you add an address to the official list in DORA, when you submit it to the state, that would have been all or nothing. So that's why the council ultimately decided against it. That proposal included the lake. This excludes the lake.
Anybody else have any comments, concerns, questions?
I mean, I just wanna make one. I'm sort of wishy-washy on DORA, but I am firm, I don't want it at the lake.
And
I'm more likely to approve it, but not at the lake. That's the way I feel.
And the proposed map excludes the lake.
Yes.
Yes.
So,
I feel the same way. I would not like that at the lake. Go ahead.
The signs, the one that you showed us here, how far apart are they set?
I don't know if there's a requirement as far as, I know there's at least 4 on 3rd Street. Not only is there signs, but there's also something on the ground, there's a sticker on the ground that we go around every year and make sure they're reinstalled because they do lift up. So every year I walk with the street department and identify where they belong at every entrance of, kind of like every main entrance to the lake. So those are reviewed every spring. So you're gonna see the stickers and also the signs. I know, like I said, I know there's at least 4 on just the one side of the street right now, plus the stickers.
I could kind of touch on that a little bit. So prior to Melanie really taking over and handling the DORA signage and stickers, that was something that I was tasked with and I tasked the street department with. So what we did is we actually wanted to put a sign at every walking trail that goes into the park. I believe the only one we didn't was the Mum Gardens, and that was just purely because it's a photo opportunity. So we didn't want to put a sign that was above the ground. So I believe it was just a sticker on the ground over there, and that was the reason why we didn't do that, is because there's so many pictures taken over there. We didn't want to muddy it up. The way photography people are now, they can just remove them, but we figured it was easier if it wasn't there. So that's how they ended up where they're at on 3rd.
My concern is just walking up a lake with a bunch of DORA signs.
I agree with that, but again, we wanted to make sure that if you're walking on the sidewalk and you're like, oh man, that lake's beautiful, I'm gonna take my cup and walk. We wanted to make sure people realize you can't go into the park. So that's why we put it on the commonly traveled areas.
I mean, I think ultimately this will come down to enforcement, along with signage, but enforcement and just, basically people know you may be on the sidewalk, but you may not be in the park with your cup. I don't think there's a whole lot of people wandering that way from downtown, even for like a concert or things like that, but I think really the key is enforcement at this point.
Going with what you're saying though, since this is specifically, I know it's not a one-time, that's why it needs approved for year-round. With 4,000 people coming to 2 streets for the art and music festival, this would increase the round, I don't know how we get the message to them.
I think that's where enforcement comes in. specifically at events like that, that's where enforcement comes in, that not only is it clearly marked, but it's, yeah.
Alcohol is prohibited everywhere,
It's-
whether there's a
Right.
sign or not.
Right.
So not allowed to have it in like, or in the park. And
It does come down to common sense a bit, yes, but,
Yeah.
you know.
To Councilor Harris's point, the only people that would be coming to certain sides of the park, you'd have to remember, coming south from Tusk or coming west from Second Street are the only establishments that can sell. So when you look at the corner of Sixth and West Lake, you're not having people flood that area with DORA cups because there's no merchants that can provide them. They're only down here. So I'm gonna generalize things. Unless there's a specific event, say the Arts and Music Festival, I'm hard pressed, I've been in this industry for 30 years, I'm hard pressed to see somebody take drinks from Second Street or from Tusk to walk laps around the lake, just for no good reason.
These people walking back there, Mr. Moore.
Yeah, I have a question. Are you able to limit the selling of, like, from around the lake, so like Mum Fest, so that way vendors can't sell alcohol on those streets and they would have to go to Second or Tusk to limit the amount of alcohol that's directly coming into those streets?
Vendors would, you would have to set up a beer garden, which would require an F-class liquor license that's only through nonprofits. So unless the city agreed to a nonprofit F-class license to set up one of these beer gardens, which we've had beer gardens in the past, that's not a concern because the law won't allow that.
When you look at amount of space.
Correct.
Anyone else have any comments or questions? Okay.
I just have one question. What is the temperature of this room? Should I go ahead and start preparing paperwork? Or is this something that is not going to move forward? Because, again, I don't want to waste your time or my time.
For myself, I think I would prefer a little more of a temperature of those folks around there, which I'm more than willing to go and just go ask them. But otherwise, barring a very passionate, please do not, I would be okay with that.
I kind of want to see what the residents say. I mean, they're the ones that have to deal with, you know, the cups in their yards. People that might drink too much, you know. I want to hear what the residents have to say about it first. I mean, 1 out of 50, nah, you know, they're kind of biased towards Main Street because they work there or they volunteer there. Let's hear what the rest of the people say. That's what I'd like to know.
The only thing I don't like is 8 million signs around the park. I mean, it's a beautiful park and cluttering it up with a bunch of signs really doesn't appeal to me. Otherwise, I think it's fine, if the residents like.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I live in that area, and the people that I know they're fine with this, but it's an informal survey, because it's hard to get a hold of people at this time of year. People aren't really out talking, so, I mean, I would love to hear more from the residents, but my feeling of my very biased sample, is that this would be fine.
That would be mine, as long as the residents are fine with it.
Well, I will start the paperwork if council,
You have some homework to do.
as does the council do. I'm looking at Councilor
Oh.
Beck, Stoll, and Miller
Yeah.
as the Ward 4 and 2 at-larges.
I'm already got my thinking cap on, so we'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Mr.
then
Mr. Strickland.
I just wanted to touch on the sign thing real quick. So I mean, if we kept with the practice of putting them on common walkways, we would only be adding 5 signs. It would be 2 on Park, 1 on 6th Street, and 2 on West Lake.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have a couple of things to discuss otherwise this evening. topic of discussion, request for legislation. Referred from rules. A letter from Stacy Carr, Planning Director, requesting legislation to adopt Barberton's new development code. 3 readings and emergency wording requested. Do I have any remarks on this? We've talked about this last week in rules of marketing, but anything since from the committee or the rest of council?
Mr. Heidi probably wants to say something.
Do you have comments on the new development code, sir?
Wish I was over there for it.
All right, no extra, sorry.
I know it's very voluminous, but council has to become familiar with this. This is exactly all the controls, development, zoning, signage, every use in the city of Barberton. I know it seems like we can just pass it and let other people worry about it, but I reviewed it, the very first draft, I think it had 600 corrections to it, right? And then Stacy took it over, talked to the consultants, they worked through a lot of it. But I encourage each and every one of you to read it front to back, find out if there's errors. I mean, Stacy, I looked at it, Stacy's looked at it till she's blind. Corey, I'm not sure if you've been able to look at drafts.
Many times.
Yeah, it's a lot, but this is the map for the city going forward in terms of all of the things that the BZBA, the Planning Commission, and then ultimately you will be dealing with. You need to become familiar with it.
It's about, what, 173 pages, I think. I read painstakingly, went through it, but I'm not a very good proofreader, so if I missed typos, I definitely did. May I have a motion to call this out? We're not gonna put this on the consent agenda since it's 3 readings.
I
but
make
may
a
I have
motion to call it out.
Okay, and a second?
Second.
Okey-dokey. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, second thing we have tonight, a letter from Mayor William Judge requesting legislation to authorize him to enter into a community reinvestment area agreement with Barberton Works grant agreement with Straight and Lamp Lumber Company. Emergency wording requested. Please see request for supporting documentation. This will be 2 separate pieces of legislation. Please see attached drafts. Has everyone had a chance to take a look at that? I know we have a lot of questions about this. From the committee, do you have comments from the committee first? No, okay. I do want to kind of talk about it a little bit because, giving a CRA or a tax abatement to somebody is, I think, a big discussion and something we should all understand what we're doing, what that means in dollars and cents, so we can all make a decision and stand by a decision, whatever way we go here. So currently, there is a building on that piece of property. Actually, it's 2 pieces of property. And across those 2 pieces of property, there are buildings. Currently, the city pulls in about about 29,000 in property taxes. That won't go anywhere. We will still get those dollars. Out of that, 23,000 comes to the city, and about 4,000 goes into the school. Those dollars will not go anywhere. We will continue to get those dollars. This company that is planning to come in here is planning on making around $4 million in capital improvement to this building. So then that's the portion that we're talking about in tax, so giving a 75% tax credit to these people. So over that time, that means it'll be about $45,000 estimated in increase in property tax there. So they would be getting back around $33,000 in tax credits. Barberton would be getting about a little bit over 11,000, that 25% of that 45. So over the course of 10 years, that means it's about $112,000 to the city. That's excluding what we are already making that I was talking about prior to. That's, excluding that part. So that's kind of what we're talking about here. The Works program, I was noticing, I was trying to figure out what that meant in tax credit for them when they're developing these jobs. And I don't know if anybody else noticed, but I was using the model that we got, you know, the sliding scale, and their proposal for what kind of jobs they were gonna be bringing year over year. They were saying over the next 3 years, they would be adding a total of 23 jobs. However, it doesn't look like they're creating the minimum amount of jobs in any one year, which is 10. So they would probably have to rearrange some job creation so they could take advantage of that. But over the sliding scale, also, our income tax rate is 2.25%. So we won't be figuring off of that extra 0.25%. That's still gonna be taken out and put into the roads program. So that won't be going anywhere. But does anybody have any questions about anything? Did I not make any sense? Did I make sense? Comments? Go ahead.
I have questions, but you explained everything wonderful. I wanna lead with that. Would they be, I wouldn't think they could do the grant program the first year, because
Right.
they're not meeting.
Indeed, yeah, unless they did 10 jobs, they cannot take advantage of that the first year. Sorry, I didn't go into the rest of the grant program. So let's pretend for a moment that the first year that they're gonna create 10 jobs, they wouldn't get that grant back until year 2. So they would apply for it, but they wouldn't get that until March of the next year as, I guess, rebate.
Okay.
So, but yeah, let's say that they created 10 jobs, then it would be the next year.
So they've already filled out an application. Would we just hold that until they've met the minimums?
They would, yeah, they would have to meet them, right? So let's say they like are planning on doing 10, but only do 5, well, they can't get it,
Okay.
you know?
All right, so that one's almost, we wouldn't do anything with it, or we would, since they're not even at the point?
Yeah, I was gonna ask, like, do we authorize it, and then when they meet the program rules, then they're eligible for it? Like, we authorize this in order
Right.
to encourage them to come and create more jobs, but they don't get it till they actually follow through. Right? I think that's the.
I think
arrangement.
I think something needs to be made clearer, in that, because I really didn't, I did a bunch of math on how much income tax we would get back and how much they would get back. I did all of it for over those years, and then I realized, wait a second, they're not creating 10 jobs in any one year. So they're keeping a running total, so I feel like a little more, explanation from our side to their side is, well, hold on, you can't really take advantage of this unless you created 10 jobs in 1 year, not
Yeah.
over total.
So that's why I wrote at the top, I'm like, does not qualify year 1, but year 2, it appears that they would.
Indeed.
If
Yeah.
they're growing the way that they've projected, forecasted.
It qualifies payroll-wise, but not
Payroll-wise, well,
job-wise.
but also, I think in the ordinance it
your-
says 10, right? It does in payroll, but the idea here is jobs, so, yeah. Go ahead.
And then my other thing, I guess it was on the CRA application, under the project description, and I think I brought this up to the mayor before. They say S&L Lumber is considering expanding in Wadsworth, Ohio. But I don't know what was changed, was it changed on was it this one I told you about, or this one?
The one
The-
that you got today is not changed, it
Yeah.
hasn't been corrected.
Right. So I'm not sure who circulated it today.
It came in our email. That, I printed this off from our emails that we got today, yeah.
Yeah, it hasn't been changed, but I talked to Mr. Dotson, and that's something that will be changed.
It's also missing page 5. It went from 4 to 6, not only in today's, but the one you emailed us last week. Do we know why they pulled out of Wadsworth?
I don't know, I'm not sure. I don't know if they were interested in Wadsworth, I'm not sure why that was.
they pulled out right at the same time. It looks like they approached you in November, so I just wondered if they had shared that with you.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it's in.
Their economic, I called the mayor of Wadsworth, and the economic development, director said it's just pretty common when you're looking for a city, you're looking for whatever city's gonna offer you the most bang for discounts or grants, so, you know, he said no hard feelings, he'd appreciate it if we didn't do it all the time, but he was okay giving us this one.
That was kind.
What was their offer, do you know?
They actually hadn't gotten past, it was before council to give them a grant, which they were in the process of approving when the company pulled out, so they had not gotten to their CRA yet.
Right,
So.
gotcha, okay. All right. Do we have more questions? Now's the time to do it. Anybody from the gallery, questions, comments?
Again, I just can't stop. I've been asked if the draft of the development code is on the website available for public viewing. I don't know the answer to that.
I think I looked at it this morning and it was there.
On the website?
Yes, right.
Super, thank you so much.
I think Stacy said that it was on, that she put it on there.
Thank you.
Okay, go right ahead.
I'm gonna flip back to,
Yeah, please.
the lumber company. I didn't see in the drafts or any of the applications or the letter to the company, what happens if they don't create the jobs? Or they don't do the update, I mean, if they don't do what they're saying they're going to do? I didn't see like a, do we
Which
pull
one,
it
the
back?
CRA or the
Work, for the CRA, or I guess for either. I mean, I guess one, if you don't bring in the jobs, you don't qualify for that
Right,
anymore.
there's that.
But if you don't do what you're like saying you're gonna do we like, oh, well, you only met 50% of the criteria, so we only give you a 50% CRA? Like, is there any?
I mean, I think with the CRA, the cost savings is literally tied to the improvements that they do to the building. You know, I think the nature of the building, they probably will spend that much. It's really to me, I think it's a possibility of they're gonna probably spend more, but, you know, who knows? But, you know, they'll only get a portion of what they spend in the first place for the CRA part.
Yeah.
Well, not necessarily the extent, but the value that they.
That value-wise, yes, what is assessed, what the property is assessed at, so.
I just didn't see any callbacks or requirements or anything in any of the paperwork, and I thought that'd be more common for what we're doing. But I guess that might be another question for Dr.
Probably.
Since we're already asking him.
Yeah, so two things. I would assume that since property taxes are in arrears, that there'd be enough time to make sure that they met all the requirements. The Farm and Works program, same thing, but we would be meeting now for 2025, so they have to supply everything before they actually got it return. But if, whether it's approved tonight or not, if you want to have a special planning meeting next week, and I can see if Mr. Johnson can attend and answer any questions.
I think I would like to. There was a lot of things that if I didn't know them today, I wasn't going to, or I was gonna hold it. I think I would like to go that route, to have a special meeting. Now that we've had all the discussion together, I think all of you probably will have more ideas later and more questions, and I like that very much.
Yeah.
So I am gonna hold this.
But you did exceptional.
I'm gonna hold that one, but we have a couple more things. A letter from Todd Shreve, Director of Service, requesting legislation to amend chapter 1060.2, method of collection, B1A, to include language mattress and upholstered furniture, one reading and emergency wording requested. For this, it's just changing from you have to wrap it in plastic if it has bed bugs to, doesn't matter what it is, if it's upholstered or a mattress, you gotta wrap it, or they won't pick it up. So, I don't know if there's any extra comments about that one from the committee? Perfect. Gallery? And then may I have a motion, I'm gonna make a motion to put this on the consent agenda. May I have a second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Alrighty. Another thing, a letter from Todd Shreve, Service Director, requesting legislation to amend Chapter 1060.8 residential payment fees to include attached and extended dates until March 2030. Did you guys all have a chance to take a look at that? So one thing I did notice about this, the monthly rate from 2025 and this year coming up is going to be the same. So I thought that was a little bright spot. But it looks like it's gonna increase about 3.1% year over year, which is what Todd said last week, or 2 weeks ago, that's what our last increase was year over year. But I did notice something, Mr. Shreve. You had said that we extended it for 1 year for 3 times, right? I think it was actually 4% increase year over year, so.
You're talking about the 1 year extensions?
Yeah.
So it actually, year, excuse me, year one of I don't remember if there was a percentage tied to it or if it was a dollar amount. But then, so for years 2 and 3 of the 3 1-year extensions, we tied it to the CPI, and it was 6% the second year, and it was just under 6. It was 5.1, something like that, the third year of the 3 1-year extensions.
Okay, all right, so that was it.
So I mean, there was an increase, yes, and even in the initial, so in 2018, the initial 5-year contract prior to the 1-year extensions, there was an escalator for those 5 years also.
Was this the one that you had negotiated a cap on, or how?
So yeah, so that was the 3 1-year extensions. So
Gotcha.
we had been with Kimball 8 years prior to going back out to bid.
Okay. All right, any other comments about this one from the committee? From council, from the gallery? All right, may I have a vote to put this on, I'm gonna motion to put it on the consent agenda. May I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Letter from Todd Shreve, Service Director, requesting legislation to amend Chapter 106.08 Method of Collection to include attached and extend the dates until March 1st, 2030. Are there any extra comments about that?
I think it's the
That was
same
wild.
thing.
I
What's
would
going
like
on?
to, so I'm not sure what happened here, so the 2 requests got combined in this third one
Okay.
because the B1A is not part of Chapter 16.08. So I'm not sure what happened there. I don't know if that was just a miscommunication between myself and Lori, but I do not believe that E is relevant
Okay, then
to
this one's.
either
wild.
one of my
Okay.
requests.
Can I just cross it out?
Yep.
Okay, we're gonna cross that out. All right, we don't have any appointments at this time, we don't have any pending legislation at this time. Miscellaneous discussion time from my, committee, from council.
Can we speak?
I believe so. Is Kimball here?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, oh, so sorry.
I know, no problem, no, you guys are doing great.
I was gonna say, I knew I saw your car out there.
So, good evening, everybody. My name is Brett Fegan. I'm the Municipal Sales Manager for Kimball. So I work closely with the mayor, Todd, and Vanessa, and Ashley in the office, just making sure things are running as smoothly as possible. I think we've done, I mean, there's been bumps in the road at times, but I think overall we've done a great job. It's responding as quickly as we can to the problems when they come up. I mean, that's the number one thing. So as soon as I get a phone call, I'm calling my team and we're getting on. And I hope that you all agree. You're shaking your head, yeah, that's good. There were some questions that were asked. There were some questions that were asked about the blowing trash or trash falling out of the truck when it's emptied. So I just wanted to address that. That is probably the #1 complaint in my entire territory, not just from Kimball, but if another hauler has it as well. It's the systems aren't perfect, right? The bucket's full, it's dumping over, any wind that crosses by can cause trash to fall out. There's a couple things that I think that I wanted to talk about. So number one is if trash is bagged,
Yeah.
that isn't gonna happen. Now, it's hard to get everyone to use bags. We can't mandate that bags are used, but if that can be a part of the education piece that goes out to use bags, that will decrease that. Number two is, if it falls out, it's the driver's job to get out of the truck and get it. And if it doesn't happen, I need to know about it, and then I'll make it happen. We'll send somebody back, we'll reprimand the driver. Now, I get it, if a little Debbie wrapper falls out and blows in the wind, he's probably not gonna chase it down. But at the same time, it's our job to keep your community clean, and it needs to happen. Another thing is, we can talk to the driver a little bit about not letting the bucket get as full, and dumping maybe when the bucket's 3/4 full, so that there's the sides of the bucket that can kind of stop that trash from blowing back and forth. Really, those are the only, that's about it for as far as that goes. It's a problem that I think from a equipment standpoint probably needs to change in the coming years. Whether it's a side load or some different kind of truck, but that's where we're at right now with it. So, is there any other questions about service?
I think, mostly what happens around here is, cans not being picked up on the allotted day. I think there's lots of times where Vanessa is sending us maps with red dots of whole streets and things like that, and I feel like it's happening more and more lately. Can you kind of talk about that?
Yeah, really, I don't wanna get too much into, driver shortage issues and things like that, but there's still an issue out there as far as being fully staffed. Now, we are fully staffed, but driver calls off or truck breaks down, any of those type of things create a problem. These aren't full routes sitting, because I get the same emails, these are a small portion that's collected the next morning. So it isn't anything that's, like we're leaving a whole route or half the city or anything like that. So we're working on it. I think things have gotten much better from maybe a year or two ago. It was a very challenging time, but I'll take that back to the team too, and we'll work on it.
I think Monty has a
Just responsiveness to phone calls by the residents. They're told to call Kimball. First-hand experience, because I experienced it. They ripped the trash lid off my trash can. So I called and said, hey, you guys ripped the trash can lid off. I waited probably a month and a half and like 4 more phone calls. And it was always, oh, we're gonna push that up, It was just like, I almost felt like a revolving door, just keep going around and around and around. And nobody had an answer. I called Vanessa, she made a phone call, I still waited probably another week or so, and then the boss actually brought one up. So responsiveness is big, especially when people are paying for a service.
Yeah, I agree. I'm sorry that was your experience. I could dig into it, find out what happened. Typically, we give a week to 2 week window to get that done. And we have a full team that drives around a box truck and does those. So I don't know how yours got, lost in the mix, but, I'm sorry.
At least a month and a half.
Yeah. And it's just a lid, right? So it's just
Yeah,
somebody
just
getting
a
there,
trash lid.
popping in a hinge,
Yeah.
and leave it. So I'm
Yeah,
sorry
she
that
brought
was
me
the
a new
experience.
can.
What, brought you a new can?
Yeah.
All right, well, hey, there you go.
I don't think you wanna mess with the hinge.
Right.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Thank you.
Do you want to maybe leave a card with us, or?
Going through everybody else's cards but mine. Yeah, it looks like I'm gonna have to run out to my vehicle, get some new cards. Or I can just write it down. Yeah, I'll just write my number down. Yeah, call all me, all me.
Yeah, I've been lucky so far. My guys have been great.
Beautiful. That's, I mean, there's probably more that have positive things to say than negative, I would say that.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you so much for your time tonight.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you very much.
All right. So, may I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Alrighty, we are adjourned at 6:56.
Thank you, Mrs. Beck. Finance and Personnel, Brian Foreman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to call to order Finance and Personnel meeting to order. It's Monday, January 20th, 2026. The time is 6:56. All members of my committee are present. Myself as chair, Chris Stoll as co-chair, and Monty Harris. All council members present, except for Third Ward, and all others also noted. We have requests for legislation, a letter from Lisa Miller, Law Director for the City of Barberton, requesting legislation to authorize the Director of Finance to pay an invoice to the Summit County Prosecutor's Office in the amount of $16,320, one reading and emergency wording requested. Please see request. Any questions?
I can explain
Okay,
that.
excuse
So
me.
we budget every year for, this is for our Matrix software. Matrix software is the software we use to, have all of our criminal cases, all of the files, because we're a paperless office. And I wanna say we budgeted, let's say we budgeted $13,000. We didn't get the invoice till later and the price had went up. So I wanted to be clear that we did budget for it, we planned for it, we did not plan for the increase, we didn't have information. So that's why it's, before you. We do have most of it in our budget. All of it's in the budget, it's just not in that purchase order, I apologize.
Thank you. Any other questions or discussions? Gallery or anybody? I will make a motion to place this on the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
Do I vote?
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Nice. Thank you. We had, last time, a letter from the Mayor, William Judge, requesting legislation to allow up to 10% of the business incentive fund, a fund balance to be used each year for economic development purposes, including but not limited to projects like wayfinding and programs like Main Street, for example, emergency wording requested. This was held for discussion. Do you have anything more? Or?
Yeah, so I sent an email out to council on the 12th. So to clarify kind of the use of the funds would be to allow up to 10% of the business incentive fund balance to be used each year for economic development purposes in the Main Street District, the Arts and Entertainment District, or for the promotion of these two districts. So the gist is to direct people on kind of the entrances into the city to downtown, where Melanie and Main Street are doing a lot of activities. We also have the Arts and Entertainment District as well. So we want to make sure that there's clear signage promoting those two districts, which are somewhat the same. You think of 585 Worcester Road West coming into town, you think of Barber Road, you think of West State Street, those entrances as people are coming into the city, they may not have a clear idea of how to get to downtown, so we want to make sure that we're promoting those two districts and getting people to downtown. I did send, respond to your questions that you sent yesterday, Councilwoman Gearhart. I received some other questions, so I sent it to all of council. We were closed yesterday, so I was in a little bit, but sent the email out prior to council, so.
Can we just go over, I didn't get that email, so, what was the current balance of the Barberton Works Fund?
Had that in here. $145,250.
Thank you. And then how much has been awarded and paid since the program's adoption in 2014?
So we've had companies interested in the program, but no one has participated in the program. SNL is the first one to submit, not the first one to submit for the program, but the first one that, or the most recent one that I feel is gonna take advantage of. So others have received the application, and have not applied for it. Others have filled out the application and then decided not to apply for it.
Because they weren't gonna meet criteria, I mean, do you know why they wouldn't wanna
No,
go
they
for it?
don't always tell us why.
And then who would have, like, handed those out to them?
So when we meet with a business, we kind of give them a letter of these are the potential or possible incentives that we may be able to do. And so that's included in that. And then it's just kind of sitting down and seeing what the nature of their business is, what the investment is into the property, the payroll, number of employees, things of that nature. So it kind of goes along with everything as a possible incentive.
It's just so weird to me that in 12 years, like, nobody's used it. So how many businesses have participated? 0. Which department administers the program and verifies eligibility and compliance?
So that would run through planning, my office, finance. Like I said, it would be first quarter of this year that we would meet, receive all the documentation from the company for last year's. And you had asked about what kind of documentation would be needed, so it would be income tax returns, really anything that we needed to verify employment and payroll.
Emily, did you see the email? What were the other questions?
I've got it here.
Okay.
Some of them were the same, but our job counts and payroll amounts verified on an annual basis, so kind of just went through that. How much would 10% of the fund represent in dollar terms at this time? $14,525. And that would be the max. And then, as Councilwoman Beck said, it would not be based off 2.25% income tax, it would just be based off of 2%.
Yeah, that was in that letter. Thank you.
Mayor, we talk about clear signs that promote the districts. What kind of signs are we talking about? Because I can tell you right now, looking at the signs at Worcester Road West and Taylor, it's just a cluster of signs. Like, all kinds of signs. Signs that are probably blocking the views of people getting out of 37th Street. Well, what kind of signs? Are we talking digital signs?
No, I mean, it would, if we were to do a digital sign, obviously this money would not pay for something of that cost. And the amount available is gonna go down each year unless that fund is funded somehow. So we would love to put digital signs up throughout the city, and we can control the message that's going out there. The signs so we would have to talk about that, what kind of signs are going out at the entrances of the city to direct people downtown. What that looks like, what's the graphics look like. We have cleaned up a lot of our signs. You've got the Kiwanis sign, you've got Welcome to Barberton, you've got a lot of, maybe even some old JC signs out there. So you've got a lot of different signs there. We've cleaned that up because they all used to be on different poles. So we were able to put them, just kind of stack them on one single pole. But we don't have a markup of what the sign would look like.
And what kind of economic development purposes are we talking? I mean, we could stretch that a little bit. People stretch it all the time. I mean, you could be talking about paying for fireworks. You could be talking about paying for concert? Are we talking like to help a business, you know, win downtown? I mean, I still think the language is broad and what you can do in regards to dealing with Main Street District and stuff.
Do you have any suggestions on verbiage?
Just being more specific, like, offering grant money, you know, like, sort of like the Barberton Works, but in a smaller scale. That'd be an example. I mean, we could discuss that.
Yeah. I mean,
We have time.
The point is, the money's sitting there. We created this looking at many different cities and what they offer as incentive packages. And so trying to create, you know, more tools in the toolbox to get businesses here doesn't mean that they'll make use of it, but at least those opportunities are there for new businesses to come into town or existing businesses to expand. So I'm kind of surprised that no one is really taking advantage of it either. So the money's sitting there. So how do we get this money into the rotation of building the city and economic development of downtown in the area? So I'm open to suggestions. I'd rather use the money in a positive way than just have it sit there.
Yeah, I mean, we've dumped, I think Mr. Flaker told me 50,000 in 2022 and 50,000 in 23, and it's just sat there. Hopefully we're earning some interest on it.
I think what would have helped is if we knew why they weren't taking it. So like if the example was, well, they're only able to create 5 jobs, well then we could start to build a trend to see our 10-job minimum is what's making it not feasible, or the payroll isn't high enough. Then could have re-examined it and like, hey, we have a big company opportunity here and your annual grant could be higher, but if you're just really small and only have a couple people, we would still offer you a smaller percentage. But we don't have that.
Yeah, they don't always communicate that with us. Yes.
2 things. I have an idea for signage. I know you're gonna know what I'm gonna say. Banners. Banners. Can we get banners with this money? You know, I know you, like the poll situation may be a little precarious because we don't know them, own them. First Energy does, but can we make our own polls and put banners on them? I can't tell you how many people come to me and say, why don't we have banners anymore? Banners, banners, banners. So that would be my biggest, like, there's your opportunity to use that money, which could go a long way. We could get a lot of banners for that money.
I'm staying up by JRB, although we get rid of Tim Disney off of that billboard.
Yeah, kick him out of there. Or I guess billboards, right? We could do a billboard. Anyway, that was really a comment. I'm saying that publicly now. Please give us banners for the events that's going on in this place. But also, how are we gonna replenish this? You know, we were talking about, you know, 10% this year is going to be a different percent, you know, different amount of money next year. And I think we put money in it for a couple of years. Like, how do we keep this fund going? Not just for, you know, kind of taking 10% and doing some things to help wayfinding and whatever, but how do we keep this going for other projects or people that may need the money out of there?
Yeah, I mean, that would be a problem that I would sit down with the finance director and the planning director to figure out. I'd like to get it used first, or someone, you know, making use of it in some manner, then it's sitting there, kind of getting the rotation. So that would be a good problem to have, that's being utilized, so how do we replenish it?
Yeah. So we could 10% it to death for the next couple of years, and then.
Yeah, I mean, as it sits now, it's be just over $14,000. There's not a lot you can do with that.
Right.
So,
Right.
So, the way I read it, and the economic development purposes for this 10%, is going towards the wayfinding. It's almost like marketing and advertising of like our downtown.
Yeah.
Like that was how I understood this, which from talking to like Main Street and some of the folks downtown, I can see the value in that, because like our downtown is offset from the main roads. So like if you're not from around here, you don't know, okay, just turn left off of Worcester Road, or you know, when you're coming up on 4th Street, like just keep going, or go around the lake, right? And so, yeah, I find value in that aspect of it if we're able to find concrete ways to drive people or let them know what we have going on here, because I know Main Street has been doing that, like once you get in town, right, they've worked with the city to put up signs on parking, this is where you park, and this is where the restaurants are, so if we get the second stage is to bring them into those signs, like I find value in that.
So we know that people go where they can see. So, you know, you could be standing over here by the movie theater, when the Masonic Temple was there, and not realize that the lake was a block away. It's a big, beautiful park in the lake. So you're absolutely right, trying to get people into downtown. We did talk to ODOT about getting a sign on, you know, 224, Barber Road exit, you know, maybe these signs say, you know, you're a mile away from beautiful downtown historic Barberton, or Lake Anna Park, 1 mile away. So getting people are more mobile these days, so it's really nothing to go to Cleveland for the day, or Canton, or even Columbus. So if we can get people into downtown, but OC Barber didn't do us any favors. He built downtown and then put residents all the way around it, right? So how do we, to your point, how do we get them downtown? So, yes.
They weren't flashy, but Todd, I liked the signs that you made for Monty and I in the west with all that road closure. They were white and purple. They were easy to read if you're driving kind of fast. Like, I don't know.
Simple nonsense.
Yeah, you can get,
The
you can get too
easiness to
fancy at times
read.
with signs where you don't, we don't wanna take your attention away from driving, right? So it should be just bold.
Mm-hmm. But then do like the Mum Fest or the Arts and
Right,
Music,
yeah.
like the old
Yeah.
fashioned banner
Yeah.
type thing. I like that too. I'm not opposed to it, I just, it was the first, I think most of us on council didn't even know this fund exists, I mean, in the budget, but we never heard about it before, so.
Question, cause it's 10% for each year, so this would be, depending upon the balance that's in there, it'd be 10%, so.
Up to 10%.
Up to 10%. So, this could really drop maybe,
Yeah.
so the following year, maybe you might need more, or, but you're just using this, what, as a starting point, the 10%, so then if we would need, I was thinking like the following year or the consecutive years.
Yeah, I mean, if there's a plan put together for signage on, and the cost and, you know, but most likely the funds they don't necessarily have to come out of this fund only, right? There's general fund and there's other things, so this is just kind of another avenue to help pay for those
Okay.
things. And if we don't use it, we don't use it, it stays in.
Okay.
But yeah, we can sit down and talk about more specifics.
Okay, sounds good, thank you.
Oh, and where was that cluster of signs that you talked about? Is it at,
Worcester Road West,
yeah.
between 37th and Taylor.
Okay, yeah, I actually did get, some lady wanted to post on one of the Barberton groups complaining about that. That, like, when she's trying to pull out onto Worcester Road, when you're trying to look left, you can't, and she sent me a picture, and it does block your view, all those signs right there. So, I don't know who all has signs right there, cause I know there's like some group signs and organizational signs and stuff besides Barberton, but, yeah, she said it was difficult to see.
I'll have our guys looking at line of sight there.
Okay. Thank
Mr.
you.
Harris?
One other quick question, Mayor. On this 10%, so 14,000 this year, that wouldn't be to pay for Main Street, would it?
I guess it could be used instead of, as part of that 50,000.
Would that be your plan though? I mean,
Possibly.
okay. All right.
I mean, that would just be a small fraction of the money that the council passed each year.
Right.
Does
Okay.
the wording, the new wording allow that purposes
Well,
in the Main Street district or for the promotion of these two districts? Would that fall under promotion?
I'm talking about specific language, I mean,
It says
the
for
language I'm
economic
looking at
development
is vague.
purposes,
Yeah.
for economic development purposes in the Main Street District, Arts and Entertainment District, or for the promotion of these two districts.
Yeah, the original verbiage was like Main Street, but it changed, I don't know if it would work. We could talk about it.
Yeah. If we held this till the,
60 days to get it out of committee.
so we have
From the
time.
day was fine,
Yeah.
yes.
We can hold it till,
Okay, so
2
we'll
weeks.
just hold it until next,
I'll talk to the mayor and we can hash some stuff out and I'll
okay, we'll hold
relay
it
that to
for
you guys.
discussion. Okay. Any other comments or concerns? Gallery? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion?
Do I have a second? Okay, thank you. We're adjourned at 7:16.
That concludes our committee meetings for this evening. Before we start our committee of the whole meeting, we're going to take a 10-minute break. 8 will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, tonight we have several people addressing council. When you come to the mic, state your name, address. You have 5 minutes to speak, and council does not engage in any conversations with you. So the first one would be Mr. Souls.
Good evening. My name is Al Swolls. I live at 3521 Akron View Drive in Barberton. I would like to share something with you. I haven't heard tonight about any annexation plans, but we understand that they're in the works to annex the properties at the corner of Robinson and State Street into Barberton. We went through about a 1.5-year process with the Coventry Township trustees and Coventry Zoning Board. They turned down this proposal to make this property a gas station. I would like to just read to you, this comes from the Ohio Supreme Court, and it has to do with illegal spot zoning. I'm going to just read to you what it says in their document. This isn't me typing something up. It's what constitutes illegal spot zoning. It's when a small parcel is singled out for a use classification different from its surroundings, and primarily for the private benefit of the owner rather than the public good, often through variance or rezoning. Ohio Supreme Court says spot zoning is illegal. It's exactly what you're trying to do here with this property. Okay. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Souls. Next we have Tony Stoper.
Good evening, Council. My name's Tony Stupera, and I live at 1240 Robinson Avenue. It's Coventry. It's about 300 feet past the Barberton border. It's on Robinson Avenue. I'm here tonight, I'm basically representing a large group of neighbors that's in opposition to this annexation. This annexation has been placed with the Summit County. I've got copies of it, let me see it, but we are, we're in opposition to this. And I can see a lot of neighbors here. They've come out and braved this cold weather just because this is such an important issue. I did send a letter to some of you. You got it. I know I probably missed several of you and whatnot. Hopefully it got spread around, but I did send a letter to council starting my comments. Hope you had time to look at that. But this proposed annexation, it affects both Barberton and Coventry residents alike. The property's right on the border and it affects both communities. Many of Barberton residents here and a lot of us Coventry residents. And to show the opposition to this, this is something we did for Coventry Township, but I got a petition here. There's over 60 names on this that are residents right in the immediate area, most of which are visual range to this lot. They're in opposition to it. It shows that there's plenty of public opposition to this. The owner of this property Sean Jaber has petitioned to annex into Barberton because he wants to put a gas station here. A use that has already been determined as incompatible, dangerous for this location by Coventry Township. After months of study, both Coventry Township Zoning Board and Coventry Township trustees, they unanimously rejected this effort twice. First, they denied rezoning so that, he could get this. Basically, spot zoning was the main issue. And then they defeated a township-wide text amendment by the trustees decided that the risk to the community was so great that they just threw the text amendment out completely. They didn't even try to change it or anything. And basically, what's happened is he's, I got mixed up. Excuse me. But we're here to ensure that Barberton understands the liability by bypassing these safety determinations made by Coventry. Mr. Jaber is trying to backdoor and spot zone a gas station at this location, thereby bypassing the existing zoning regulations. There's a few things to keep in mind. This is currently a Coventry B2 zone property, which is local neighborhood business district. And that explicitly prohibits gas stations. It'll allow doctor's office, lawyers, small retail, stuff like that. Definitely not a gas station. That's a high-risk endeavor. It's also important to note that this is basically a residential neighborhood. If you look at the map, it's all residential in the area. There's probably nothing in the area until you get clear down to where the old Sissons is. There's no other, it's all residential. There's a church, okay, and a dentist office that is, like us, B2. So, and that's probably the main reason his efforts failed in the past, is because it is all residential area there. Another thing to consider is Mr. Jaber has created what's called a self-imposed problem. He purchased the property, fully knowing his B2 zoning doesn't allow gas stations, but he purchased it anyway with the intent to have the zoning changed. He created this problem himself, and now he wants you to fix it for him. Since Mr. Jaber didn't get his way in Coventry, he's trying to make this a Barberton problem. But don't let him. We're here to ask that you respect the unanimous decision of Coventry Township trustees. It was just over a week ago, on January 8th. The trustees, they didn't just deny a gas station. They formally determined that after months of study, gas stations are fundamentally incompatible with B2 local business zoning for the entire township. Barberton shouldn't bypass that safety determination by allowing annexation. But if you did, that's exactly what we'd be doing. If this property is annexed by Barberton, you're inviting a legal headache. You'd be forced to deal with the same spot zoning issues and some physical impossibilities because Barberton code, I guess, requires buffer zones and stuff like this to residential property, which I don't think is big enough to do that. Barberton does annex. The next thing he'll do is he will ask you to change the zoning to heavy commercial. All right. And by granting that, you'll be engaging in the same spot zoning behavior that Coventry officials already identified as bad policy. And why would the city want to take on the liability and political headache of a controversial gas station that violates the safety standards of your neighbors? Not to mention all the public opposition. A gas station, the use involves dangerous underground fuel storage, and the proximity of fuel tanks near residential properties is a concern for many of the residents. This property is directly adjacent to established residents' homes that rely on wells for their water supply. Problem. Then, main liability is if there is a chemical spill, it would actually leave Barberton with cleanup and restoration costs that a small business, which is what he is, it couldn't and wouldn't cover. It would fall back on Barberton to clean it up. So you should consider the liability, and also the liability the city would assume by adding to and making a high-traffic and dangerous intersection even more dangerous. If you pass this through, as soon as an accident happens there, any good lawyer, he'll review the opposition to Coventry stuff and the opposition here, and the city didn't listen to it. That's not a good liability to have. So we're not anti-development. We're actually pro-safety for Coventry and Barberton alike. So I guess what we're doing is we're asking the council to send a clear message. Barberton will not be a loophole for projects that already been found dangerous to the community by our local officials. The neighbors ask that you protect our integrity of our residential border and reject any petition for annexation or rezoning for this use. I guess he said no questions, so I guess there wouldn't be any. I thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Next would be Cindy Holland.
Good evening, council. My name's Cindy Holland. I live at 1240 Robinson. I am opposing this annexation due to a wide variety of issues. If Barberton accepts this annexation, you are accepting legal liabilities by the city of Barberton that you probably don't want to address. First one is the environment. I live to the east of this property. We rely on a private water well. Under Administration Code 3701-28-07, fuel tanks must maintain a strict isolation distance from wells. I believe it's 300 feet. On these tiny parcels, there's no way to place tanks without threatening my drinking water. Then the physical impossibility is my neighbor is in her 90s and has the adjoining property behind us that also joins this property in consideration here. She is not able to be here, but her her lot is to the south of this. Barberton's code at this time requires a 25-foot landscape buffer against both of our properties. Between my well protection zone, the 25-foot buffer for both properties, and the required setbacks, there is no room left for a gas station and a turning radius for tankers to come in and out. For these reasons, annexation won't help a gas station, won't allow a gas station. For these reasons, annexation won't help allowing a gas station, so you should reject this annexation now and save everybody the time and effort and expense that it will cost before it gets into legal litigation. As Tony has spoke, this has been through Coventry Township. Surely they have denied this to the fullest extent. If you allow this to go through, it is illegal spot zoning. Bottom line. Mr. Jaber purchased this property knowing this. The person he purchased it from, to begin with on the corner, had issues. They had EPA violations. They were literally backed out of the corner because of the EPA violations. They took it to Manchester, they brought it to Barberton. Now, because he couldn't get this through, he has incorporated his buddy to come in on the property, and it's been what I call a good old boy club in the making for probably 20-something years now. They've been trying to do something fishy. But what I am going to urge you is to please pay attention. These are our residents here that are representing us, and we all are object to this. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. Michelle Rollins.
Hi, my State Street, Coventry Township. And I'm here, in regards to the petition for annexation, on the corner property of Robinson and State Street. So as I heard about this petition, I did a little research and trying to understand annexation and what it takes. So just pursuant to ORC 709.033A5, in summary, it basically says, there has to be general good proposed will outweigh the detriments. And I'm here to share that, basically there is more detriment that would come to this annexation. My neighbors have kind of already talked about some of those. Environmental risk, most of us in that vicinity have wells. The increased noise from traffic, individuals, music, etc. Lighting, of course, gas stations bring a lot of the lighting in the windows, and then lighting up the general lot, disruption. You have the safety aspect of things. The intersection of Robinson and State Street has no lighted turn signals, or on the traffic lights, I should say. So trying to turn left at that intersection in any direction is very hard. Bringing in a gas station is gonna cause more issues, accidents, safety. As my neighbor pointed out, turning radius for a tanker to come in here to bring gas in. The safety concerns from individuals that would go to a gas station with the intent to commit a crime. I know in the past I've heard stories about when it was a gas station years ago, that individuals were chased through the properties in the back, by law enforcement. Then there's the other aspect that us neighbors have, the property value impacts of a gas station going in there. Homeowners insurance, they hear that we're gonna get a gas station, costs are gonna go up. And then basic common sense. Does Coventry or Barberton have a need for another gas station? There's many just right down the street. It just doesn't make sense to throw another gas station. The environmental aspect, and then in addition to the community opposition. We've been with the Coventry Township meetings, zoning, showing our opposition. It's not needed. Nobody wants it. It's been voted down every time. So we just basically have all shared the same opinion, and now that is before you in terms of a petition for annexation, where you all kind of share that general sentiment in the area. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rollins. Kim Rollins.
I'm Kimberly Rollins. I live at 3259 East State Street. I'm about 4 houses down from the corner. We had put a lot of work, money, and redid an old farmhouse there. I don't want to see it. There's no sidewalks for one thing. I am the one that had the guy run through my yard when they robbed the corner. I am there by myself a lot. For safety alone, there's no sidewalks to walk up. A couple of years ago, we had a truck stolen out of our driveway because somebody was walking up the street checking it out. They stole our truck, stole all the stuff from people's barns and stuff all along State Street. All this gets is more people coming up our street, checking our houses out. I don't like that because I'm there by myself. My daughter-in-law is by herself a lot because our husbands work out of town. And would you want that on your street? We got school buses coming through there all the time. I bet there's 5, 6 school buses in the morning. They don't need all that traffic on that road. You're just asking for problems, deaths, more accidents, and my water. How am I gonna get water if he ruins it? That is very important. You won't be able to sell your house without water. And I don't want my house value to go down, because it will. It's just, when you put your time and your love in something, you don't want something like that on the corner, because all that does is bring more people in. There's, I think Coventry said there was 8 gas stations on Manchester Road. Do we need another one? No. We don't need any of that stuff anymore. The stuff that's sold in those gas stations, our kids don't need that in the neighborhood. So, I don't want that there. I hope you would agree that it shouldn't be there. I don't see him living there, you know? He's not gonna have to look at it. He's not gonna have to deal with it. That intersection is not that big to turn, left turns, right turn, whatever. And people come through there fast. I mean, it's a bad place. So, thank you for listening, but please keep that in mind because our safety is what's important to us. Our water and our safety and our kids and my grandkids. So, thank you for listening.
Thank you. Sandra Schaefer.
My name is Sandra Schaefer. I live at 3227 East State Street. This gas station would even be closer to my house than Kim's. I purchased this house not long ago. We're excited to move out here. Did not expect a gas station 3 houses down. There's no need for it. We've got Get-Go, we've got Acme, we got Circle K. We don't need another one. The safety, and they've all told you about the potential, the contaminations. You know, they've said a lot of it. I'm just asking you, please don't annex this. You know, you guys wouldn't appreciate a gas station being stuck 3 houses over from you, in between your neighbor. Really? No, there's no need for it. I just beg of you not to do this. Thank you.
Thank you. We have one more, David.
My name is Dave Cole, and I live at 1227 Robinson, which is in Barberton. It's right across the street from Mr. Stapero. Yes, and I'm certainly in opposition to this. Meetings that we've had before with Coventry, I think we've had, as far as I remember, you know, at least 5 meetings with the Coventry zoning and trustees. And there's one that I know of that I attended with some people at Summit County, downtown in Summit County. And basically, you know, the first meeting I went to, the zoning commission in Coventry, they had a document, I was looking for it and I couldn't find it. They had a list of reasons why they think it was okay, why they thought it was okay. I looked at that list of reasons and a lot of them just, you know, weren't true. They weren't accurate. The the meeting I attended a couple months ago with Summit County, you know, I attempted to ask them, where did you get this? You know, what data did you use to establish this, you know? And, you know, basically I got cut off and, you know, they didn't want to hear it. They said, well, we're not here to call balls and strikes. And I asked them, well, why are you trying to change the strike zone then? Because, you know, that's what it seemed like they were trying to do. So I'll just tell you, you know, the people in Coventry that live around there, even though I'm across the street in Barberton, we kind of consider ourselves dual citizens because we're on Robinson, we're right on the line. But the folks in Barberton, I mean, over in Coventry that live there, the council, the trustees and everything, they know it's not good. You know, they said actually in the meetings, you're taking a business like that and taking it like almost like on Star Trek with the transporter. They're like taking a transporter or a parachute and put it right in the middle of a residential area, you know, on Barberton and over in Coventry. So it's you know, not to our liking, certainly not mine. And I've heard different things about homeowners insurance. As far as that goes, I'm really not into paying higher insurance just so some guy can have a gas station. You know, I'm not hating on Mr. Jabers. I hear a lot of good things about him. But in this particular instance, I just wouldn't like to see it. You know, I do not want to see a gas station. You know, of all things, you know, a gas station would be a good thing. So had a lot of other things to say, but yeah, losing my train of thought here. So, but thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes all of the citizens addressing council. You all are permitted to leave if you don't want to stay for the rest of the meeting, or you could stay here. It's up to you. Okay. Okay, we'll go right into our committee reports. We'll start off with streets, sidewalks, and lighting.
Thank you, Mr. President. Street, sidewalk, and lighting met in council chambers this evening. We had requests for legislation from Todd Street, Service Director, to advertise for bids and services used in ordinary daily operation of the municipal departments in the city of Barberton for 2026. that was put on the consent agenda. Is another letter from Todd Shreve, Service Director, requesting legislation to enter into contract with VPD Group, Inc. for general professional engineering services. That was, called out and placed on the consent agenda. And last, a letter from Todd Shreve, Service Director, requesting legislation to enter into contract with Cargill Incorporated for the 2026 Street Road Salt Program, and that was called out and placed on the consent agenda. And with that, I pass.
Thank you, Mrs. Hager. Planning, Annexation, and Codes, Emily Beck.
Thank you, Mr. President. Planning, Annexation, and Codes met this evening in council chambers. We had 4 pieces of legislation to consider. The first one, a letter from Stacy Carr, Planning Director, requesting legislation to adopt Barberton's new development code. 3 readings on that. The second thing, letter from Mayor William Judge, requesting legislation to authorize him to enter into a community reinvestment area agreement and Barberton Works grant agreement with Straight Lamp Lumber Company. Emergency reading. We held that one because there's a lot to talk about there. Letter from Todd Shreve, Service Director, requesting legislation to amend Chapter 1060.02, Method of Collection, B1A, to include language to read as mattresses and upholstered furniture. We placed that on the consent agenda. And then lastly, a letter from Todd Shreve, Service Director, requesting legislation to amend Chapter 1060.08, residential payment fees, to include, in the attached, extend the dates to March 1st, 2030. And that was also placed on the consent agenda, and with that I pass.
Thank you, Mrs. Beck. City Utilities, Mr. Stoll.
Thank you, Mr. President. City Utilities Committee met on January 12th in council chambers at 6:11 p.m. We had 2 requests for legislation. The first was a letter from Todd Shreve, Service Director, requesting legislation to enter into a 5-year contract with Kimball Recycling and Disposal for pickup and disposal of residentially collected garbage and curbside collection and disposal of recyclable materials effective March 1st, 2026. Emergency wording was requested, and that was placed on the consent agenda. Second piece of the second request for legislation was a letter from Todd Shreve, Service Director, requesting to advertise for bids and services used in the ordinary and daily operation of the municipal departments in the city of Barberton for 2026. Emergency wording requested, and that was referred to streets. And with that, I pass.
Thank you, Mr. Stoll. Public Welfare and Safety, Mr. Harris.
Thank you, Mr. President. Public Welfare and Safety met on January 12th, 2026, and we have nothing to report. With that, I pass.
Thank you. Rules, Marketing, and Development, Mrs. Gearhart. Ms. Gearhart.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. Rules, Marketing, and Development met on January 12th. We had 1 request for legislation, a letter from Stacy Carr, Planning Director, requesting legislation to adopt Barberton's new development code, and we referred that to planning, and with that I pass.
Thank you, Ms. Gearhart. Environmental Health and Social Services, Mrs. Miller.
We have no further business, and with that I pass.
Thank you, Mrs. Miller. City Properties, Parks, and Recreation, that's an open seat. Coach here, Ms. Gearhart.
Thank you, Mr. President. City Properties, Parks, and Recreation has nothing to report, and with that I pass.
Thank you. Finance and Personnel, Mr. Poorman.
Thank you, Mr. President. We met this evening. All members were present. We had 1 request for legislation, a letter from Lisa Miller, Law Director for the City of Barberton, requesting legislation to authorize the Director of Finance to pay an invoice to Summit County Prosecutor's Office in the amount of $16,320. 1 reading and emergency wording requested. That was put on consent. And our other business, we had a letter from William Judge requesting legislation allowing up to 10% of the business incentive fund for fund balance to be used for economic development. That was held over for further discussion, and with that, I have no further comments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Foreman. Do we have anything for council members, from council members, department heads? Yes, Mr. Harris?
I guess Mrs. Miller? Sorry to alarm you there.
Sorry.
You
And I
sent
keep
us-
hearing Mrs. Miller, and I'm getting very confused now.
You sent out the email regarding the second investigation that we talked about last year.
Correct.
Can you enlighten us on that, how it came about? How much, excuse me, how much of the bill we received yet? And also, have the investigation been referred to the Attorney General's office?
We have not received a bill. I have not referred them to the Attorney General's office, mostly because I was waiting kind of to hear back from what council or anyone was considering or not considering. And then I can't remember your first question.
How the investigation came about?
The second investigation came about, an employee, not employed in the mayor's office, came to my office to report that another employee had said that they were assembling the golf ball gun in their city workspace during city hours. I wanted to confirm that to be true before I did anything, so I instructed another city employee, current city full-time employee, to go see if that was there. And it was there, and then I knew that the first person, I didn't believe they weren't truthful, I guess I just wanted to confirm. So once I confirmed, I forwarded that to, Attorney Davis, who was already working on the investigation.
Okay, thank you. Do you plan on referring these to the Attorney General?
I
Like
really
I
should
asked.
contact them and ask them if they would accept that. I don't know that they'll even accept it.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Oh, you're welcome, and I want to say something about that. If in the future we have discussions about the investigation, we can call a special meeting and just discuss that without involving it in council.
Mr. President.
Yes,
I'm sorry, say that again?
we can have a special meeting,
For,
the investigations.
okay.
That's what I'm saying, yes. Yes, sir.
The reason I bring it up is because
Mhm.
if you recall, which most of the council members won't recall because they weren't here,
Mhm.
we appropriated $15,000 to
remember.
pay for these investigations,
right.
and that's taxpayer money.
I remember, yes.
So I think they need to, we should be transparent in that.
You would be in a special meeting, it's still public record. It wouldn't be an
We're
executive.
doing it in an open public view
I
right
know
now.
it, but I'm saying, as far as time consideration,
Well,
you know what I'm
it's like
saying?
5 minutes.
So, yeah, in the future, yeah, if it's gonna stand here and discuss things, I'd like to have a special meeting and discuss that only. Okay, mayor's report, any remarks from the body first? Any more? Mayor's report,
Thank you, Mr. President. Change for Change has been canceled for this Friday. Based on the forecast, we feel it's best not to have people out. We will reschedule. Summit Connects, the fiber expansion from Summit County. They put about 86 miles of conduit throughout the county due to the week and this week. The temperature, minimal crews will be out 6th Street and West Hopkins here in Barberton, and a little bit out towards New Franklin, but that's going to be kind of touch and go depending on how severe the weather is during this week and next week. Last week's public forum, I was going back and forth here between City Council and the forum over at the Active Adult Center. Want to thank Summit County Executive Eileen Shapiro, including her county offices, Job and Family Services, the auditor's office, and about 29 organizations throughout Summit County that were there working with residents. Great information that was sent out, or that was proposed there, or presented surrounding the changes in SNAP benefits, Medicaid, child care, and other important changes that are really going to impact our residents. They did have some caseworkers on hand who got to meet with residents to go over their specific cases and to give specific answers kind of in the back room there. So I want to thank my staff, the Parks Department, the county staff, and all the organizations present, and most importantly, the residents who attended, because this is life-changing events and impact that's going to ripple throughout the community. And I know that when things happen, there's services that are cut, everyone looks to local government to pick up the slack, and we don't have the resources either. So we'll see how this plays out here, and hopefully more meetings here in the future if it's warranted. Working with the Summit County Health Department, influenza continuing to run rampant through the area, really with the hospitalizations due to influenza. So if you haven't been vaccinated this year, I suggest you do that. It's not going to stop the flu from you getting the flu, but it's going to minimize the effects of it. Budget, I've met with 10 departments and continuing to work on the budget, so hopefully get that to you soon. And just lastly, a big shout out to our street department and utilities department. They worked all weekend doing ice and snow control, clearing that away, and also working on the water main breaks throughout the community as well. So putting in long hours and frigid temperatures. So my hat goes off to them. Also want to recognize the police and fire officers for responding to the many calls during these cold times as well. I think it's cold during the day, it's worse during the night. You can't see the black ice when you're driving around trying to get on an emergency call, trying to get somewhere. So we've got some great employees here in the city, and they all pull together during these tough times. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Do we have anything else for the good of the body? If not, we are adjourned at 8:11.